Today, we are going to look at box and whisker plot. Box and whisker plot, this is a method of presenting data in statistics. Now, we know that in order to draw box and whisker plot, we need to find 5 things. 1, we need to know our minimum value. And for this case, our minimum is 1. 2, we need to know our maximum value. And for this case, our maximum is 9. We need to find the median of our data. Remember, first of all, we have to ensure that the data is arranged in order. Now, because our data is already in order, we find the middle number by cancelling 1 by 1 from the end. 1 by 1 from the end until we are left with the middle data, and this middle data becomes our median. Now, after getting our middle data, we shall use all the other remaining data to find the lower quartile. Remember, if this is the median, means all this is the lower half. So we need to get the median of the lower half so that it is our lower quartile. 1, 1, 2, 2, and hence 3 will become our lower quartile. We also call it Q1. The same we shall do to the upper half of the data. 1 data, 1 data, second data, second data, and the middle will become our upper quartile, or we call it Q3. When we look at our data, it is systematically arranged from 1 increasing majestically to 9. Now we have got our 5 items that we need to find. Remember, my minimum value is 1. My maximum value is 9. My median is 5. My lower quartile is 3. And my upper quartile is 6. So, after getting my 5 items, you can simply go to your grid paper. You know, it's very good and mostly advised to draw our box and whisker on a grid paper. But for now, we can have a number line. Since our small data is 1, so we can just start from our small data, and we ensure that our number line contains the biggest data. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So once you have the number line, so we can plot now. Our minimum is 1. So we can keep a nice line at 1. Our maximum value is 9. So we can also keep another line at our maximum value. Then we go to our lower quartile, 3. We keep another line at 3. Our median is 5. We keep a line at 5. And our upper quartile is 6. But remember, the lower quartile till the upper quartile will constitute our box. And from the lower quartile till the minimum value, we shall have our whisker. And the same way, from the upper quartile till our maximum value, we shall have our other whisker. So this is what we call box and whisker plot. For further information, remember, box and whisker shows how data is arranged and how data is spread. So when you look at the whisker of lower and the whisker of upper, you do see that the lower whisker has a small skewness. And when you look at the upper whisker, has more skewed. But remember, this box constitutes half of our data. Why half of the data? Because from the lower quartile till the median is a quarter of the data. From the median to the upper quartile is another quarter of the data. The lower whisker shows another quarter of the data, and the upper whisker shows another quarter of the data. This means the first quarter is here of the data, the second quarter of the data, the third quarter of the data, and the fourth quarter of the data. So when we have got more skewness and when you have got a small skewness, it also has another meaning. We shall see it later, but it's all about how much data is spread. Let's look at second example. When you look at our second example, we have our data again. That is from 1 till 10. So, when you look at this data, again, in order to draw our box and whisker plot, we shall also need to find 5 items. But, when you look at our smallest data here, 1, and you look at the next data, you will see there's a big gap without any value. That gives us a question mark. That is 1 really supposed to be part of this data? Because 1 is very far, but after 5, you can see all the data that follows up is properly arranged one after another until 10. This tells us we need to test for outliers to ensure that actually 1 is part of our data. But before we can test for the outlier, we need to find our 5 items. So our maximum, we can see from our data, is 10. After our maximum, we need to find our median. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm left with 2 in the middle. I get the sum, 16. Then I divide by 2, and my median will remain 8. So 8 will be my median. After getting my median, data is divided into 2 parts. Now I need to find my lower quartile. 1, 1. 2, 2. 3, 3. Hence, 6 becomes my lower quartile. Lower quartile, or Q1. Then I go to the upper data to find my upper quartile. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and 9 becomes my upper quartile. In other words, that is Q3. Now I have got all my 5 important items for drawing my box and whisker plot. But before I can draw it, I am certain one could be an outlier basing on the fact that there is too much data which is missing between 1 and 5. So first I need to test for my outliers. In order to test for outlier, we shall use the formula Q1 minus 1.5 times interquartile range. And on the same way, if I want to test for outlier for the upper value, I will use Q3 plus 1.5 times interquartile range. I have Q1 and I have Q3. I do not have the interquartile range. In order to get the interquartile range, I have to get my upper quartile minus my lower quartile. And that will be 9 minus 6. And I will get my interquartile range as 3. Now I can substitute my data. Lower quartile is 6 and my interquartile range is 3. And when I multiply 1.5 times 3 and I subtract it from 6, I get 1.5. That means any value which is smaller than 1.5 is an outlier. So when you look closely, our data 1 is outlier. So our outlier will be 1. This means our minimum value now will change, and the next data will be now our new minimum. And the new minimum will be 5. Let's go to the upper outlier. Q3 is 10. Sorry. Q3 is 9 plus my 1.5, and I multiply by my interquartile range. So when I multiply 1.5 times 3 and I add it to 9, I will get 13.5. So any value which is more than 13.5 will be an outlier on the maximum side. Fortunately, our maximum data is only 10, meaning we do not have outlier on the top value. Our maximum will remain 10. So now we have found out that 1 is an outlier and our minimum value will be 5. So let's draw our box and whisker plot using the data. Again, as I said, it is advised to draw your box and whisker on a grid paper. So normally you should use a grid paper. So now I'm making my number line. Remember, on the number line, I should ensure that my minimum value and my maximum value are all contained in our set of data. So, we found out 1 is an outlier. It cannot be on our whiskers. So, this 1, we shall represent it as a mark, which we can just use X, to indicate it is an outlier. But now we said the next data, that is 5, will become our minimum value. And when we go to our lower quartile, it's 6. When we go to our median, it's 8. When we go to our upper quartile, it's 9. And finally, our maximum value is 10. But remember, from the lower quartile to upper quartile constitute of the box. And from the lower quartile to our lower value will be our lower whisker. And from our upper quartile to our maximum value will be our upper whisker. Now this will be our box and whisker plot, including outlier. So this is how we simply draw a box and whisker plot. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed my discussion, you can subscribe to my channel, click to the bell for all my new videos. My name is Mr. Ishengoma.